Okay. Gonna move over here so you don't hear my power station running. Can you hear
Oh,
any?
no, I don't hear
No, okay.
anything. So,
No, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
alrighty, folks, if you can let me know if you can see and hear me okay. We just started the live stream. We've got Johan ready there with NatureEye and the drone in Iceland. So just a quick confirmation on the live chat. Yeah, looks like we're 5x5. Johan, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again. It's a beautiful day here in Reykjanes in Iceland, and I hope you enjoy the fun.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
We'll just go ahead and take
Shawn.
off then when you're ready, Johan. Just
yes, you have permission to take off.
Okay, I don't have the button yet.
Let's see.
It was there before.
Oh, I must have just nicked it. All right, cleared for takeoff. Runway 120.
Okay, and liftoff.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
And there we have our beautiful Sýlingarfell ice cream scoop.
Yep.
Mountain. So take it away, Shawn.
Okay.
Anywhere you see.
Feel free to jump in with any commentary, Johan. We'll go ahead and head to the east here. We'll swing a little bit more to the north too, right? This way. Does that look like a good line there?
That's great. There's a plane. You can even see it passing on the middle, and it's the height is good, and it's far away.
Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, folks, for this flight over the lava fields. We're obviously between eruptions. We had our last eruption on November 20th, and we've got inflation and magma accumulation that's building towards another eruption that could be coming, you know, heck, within a week or so, or maybe within a few weeks, but definitely something I'd say, you know, February. If we get out of February and into March without an eruption, that would be pretty remarkable, but it's a possibility, of course. And we want to remind everyone that if you want to have this kind of experience or give this to a friend or loved one, you can just go to natureye.com and sign up, purchase a flight. You can use the code ShawnFly, so my name, FLY, and that'll get you 10% off. And there's destinations in Iceland and other destinations as well. So we want to encourage folks to get on the website, try it out. It's really easy. If you can push buttons on your keyboard, you can fly a drone. That's all I'm doing right now. And there's a pilot on the ground to kind of monitor you, make sure you don't crash it, help provide commentary and let you know what you're flying around and over. There's a local pilot, just like we have Johan here, who's quite well versed in Iceland geology and the landmarks and such. So it's really great experience. We want to head to the right there, Johan, or more to the north there?
Well, anywhere you please, really.
Okay.
We've got an onboard modem on board, so you can fly behind the mountain. It's a beautiful day, and if you pull the camera down a little bit, you can see how the lava field just comes alive in all its colors. It was snowed over a few days ago, but today it's just amazing.
Oh yeah,
Steam from the power plant and Blue Lagoon is coming straight up, and there's not a cloud in the sky. And yeah, you can really see how the lava comes alive. It's coloring up quite fast, as you see. It's not Mordor black anymore.
Yeah, it's it's being weathered. So little white spots on the lava field from some of the outgassing and some of the sulfuric and other mineralization that takes place there. And then, yeah, like Johan said, these flows will tend to be kind of jet black or maybe a little bit incandescent initially. And then as they start to kind of weather and mix with water and atmospheric effects, they do tend to become a little bit more brownish or reddish over time. So we're going to do two flights here with Johan and NatureEye. We'll do the first one along this north end of the Fisher Line. We'll check out some of the cones and features up here, and then we'll fly. Once we recharge the battery, we'll fly to the south towards the Grindavik and get a view of that in the distance. So yeah, great conditions. So thanks for doing this for us.
Yeah, awesome conditions. And here you can see the northernmost extent of the lava flows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, that mountain up there is older. It's almost enveloped by the lava field.
Right.
Now, yeah, as Shawn was saying, if you visit natureye.com, you can book a flight in any of our locations, and you can also buy a gift coat, and we had some awesome flights now during Christmas, New Year's, because you can invite the rest of the family if they're somewhere else in the world, and the whole family can join in front of 2 screens and take turns flying. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's just the technology still just wows me so much. Are we looking at the cone? Is that our November 20th cone, or is that
no? That's
August?
That's actually closer down south to the
okay.
To the eruption. No, I mean to Mount Seelingafell. We will have a perfect opportunity to sort of overfly it on the way back. Now,
this is the August one then, yeah.
You remember the last eruption on November 21st? It was like normally around 3 kilometers long in 2 segments. And then it consolidated into 3 craters. The southern one was just oozing lava to the southeast. The middle one was the one causing the most panic because it produced this lava torrent running to the west, looping around the power plant and the Blue Lagoon. But this northern one that kept simmering on for a few weeks, that produced a lava field that's flowing to the east and north towards Fagradalsfjall. So for the next eruption, if it keeps doing that, slowly moving to the north, that would be best for everyone. Then we can enjoy the eruption.
Right.
It doesn't threaten any infrastructure. You might want to just pick it up a little higher there.
Okay, up.
We're almost 4 kilometers away. That was just the modem kicking in, taking over from the RC signal. It's beautiful in this weather. All the colorization and shadows. I mean, it even looks different now than it did at noon. So, because the sun is low in the sky.
Right, just the different colors that come. Yeah. There's that channel that it was feeding there. Yeah, so here's one of the cones, like Johan was saying, from the August eruption, the furthest north eruption. And let's see if we can.
That would be from the August eruption. That's correct. Yes.
Then there's a secondary cone right next to it. Pull back a little bit here. And let's see. This way.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so we're looking more or less to the, I guess, northwest there at these sort of twin cones. You can see the lava channel coming off the one there. We're at about, someone asked what altitude we're at. We're at about 140 meters right here, according to my controls.
It's actually way less because the lava is actually 34 kilometers thick on top of the elevation data that we're using.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Our altitude above ground is within limits.
Right, so we can take a look this way, get a couple pictures here. Again, the technology, this is really nice. You're just pushing buttons on your keyboard, just like I am, left, right, up, down, pretty simple. And then you can also do photos and video as well. Swing around over this way. And like a little section here that's still outgassing we can go investigate. And then there's zooms on the cameras as well. So if you see a point of interest like we have right here, click on it to center it, and then we can zoom in on that.
You can also use the drop-down list to just go straight to 2 times or 8 times.
Yeah, so there's 8 times right there. Decenter it. Looks like we have a little bit of yellow, sulfur mineralization there. So yeah, just actively, went a little too far past it there. When Johan flies it, he's much smoother. But yeah, a little bit of outgassing here from this flow field.
I'm going to take over just for a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a helicopter coming, and I can see it on my map. And I just want to make sure that we are
There's a view
lower
to the
to begin
east.
with. Lower to begin with. I'll fly us over to where. Losing signal. Getting signal again.
I can hear the helicopter, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We're far away. We are only 60 meters up. Just wanted to make sure.
They're still running a lot of tours, I suppose, helicopter tours.
Yeah, but mostly science flights, Coast Guard and Met Office. And, all right. So where are you now? Let me look at the map here.
Yeah, so I'm over here near the east edge, up against the hills. And I'm going to take us back over towards the crater row, maybe tilt the camera down a little bit so we get some of the better color.
Might want to take it a little higher now because we're going to have a mountain in between me and the drone.
About 120 meters.
That's fine.
Okay. You can see the edge of two flow fields. There's a nice stark contrast there between these two flows, and you can see the color difference and also the texture difference as well. You know, we've got so many overlapping flows here. I don't know if anyone's got it dialed. It might be Johan in terms of like, well, this one's from this eruption and this one's from that eruption, but because they occurred so quickly, you know, consecutively. You know, and it's not.
There's a nice map on the web, on the Met Office website, with, you know, colorized lava flows, like which one is which.
Right.
But then, yeah, it can get confusing.
Yeah, but then when you're out there flying the drone, it's hard to tell where you are and exactly what's going on.
You know, when it snows, you can actually see that the most recent lava flow.
Yeah, the hot one. Yeah.
And the August eruption, you know, melts most of the snow. And then the older lava flows have, like, you know, some snow on it. So there you can really see the contrast between the 7 different lava flows.
Right. Have a little outgassing section here. So yeah, these flows can take, I mean, sometimes years to completely solidify, just due to, you know, rock just being such a good insulator. It can take quite a while for these things to cool all the way through. Now, they're cool at the surface for the most part, but like Johan said, even when it snows on them, the most recent ones can be quite warm and can still
melt snow. That's the most recent crater.
Okay.
I'm playing around with the brightness here so it doesn't get overexposed.
Low sun angle.
So that's the northernmost crater from the
November
recent eruption.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when we were flying from this direction, from the car park at Paradisfjall.
Yep.
And it looked like 2 glowing eyes, or the castle of Skeletor, just and the lava flowing towards us this direction. So that's the most recent land we have.
Yeah. So this is not 2025 ground, but late 2024.
Yeah, that's good.
Then we can go, you get a little bit lower. Can we go a little lower?
Yeah, you can go all the way up to it.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember this one now. It had the 2 glowing eyes, and then one of them had the real deep, and then we can still see, you know, the vent kind of stayed open. You can see some of these dark holes that are still where that lava was coming out.
Most memorable when it was actually oscillating between the 2.
Yes,
one would cool down and the other one would just, you know, go berserk.
Right, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. The oscillating vents. One would fire up and be kind of intense, and the other one would wind down, and then they would switch off.
Yeah, I guess they were tag teaming, so to say.
Yeah. So this would be more of like, you know, not a nice classic spatter cone, because it's really you know, a 2 put together in several vents, so it's more of what we might call a spatter cone complex, because it's, you know, think of like
a good word,
like an apartment complex, right? You've got several, you know, apartments in the building.
Skeletor's castle.
Yeah. Oh, nice view here. I'm going to back up. That was actually pretty neat there on this south side. You can see some of the flow that came over the lip of this cone here, creating some really neat kind of flow textures.
Losing a little signal. That's because the LTE phone signal is kind of weak over there.
I'll go up a little bit.
Yeah, we should go up a little bit.
Yeah, some nice little flow features there. This is almost approaching, sometimes we see lava flow features like this called entrail pahoehoe, where it looks like the entrails of some animal or something that on the side of the road.
So many geological terms are in Hawaiian or Icelandic.
Yes,
there's obvious reasons.
Yeah, too many. Too many. I have a book that's, I don't know how many centimeters it would be, maybe 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters thick, something like that. That's all just geology terms.
I do have one. I think I showed you when we came here. It's like from 1970 or something.
Yeah, you did show me that.
It does belong in a museum, though.
Yeah, those are keepers.
Oh,
keep those. But then you can see, looking this way, we have Silingarfelt right next to us here. Or no, that's further out. You can see the power plant behind Silingarfelt. This is a Stora Stokfelt, the hill.
Stora Stokfelt. Yeah, I
right
mix
here.
the two all the time together.
Yeah.
I think I did it in the beginning of the stream, actually. Yeah, and the outgassing here on the
margins,
it's completely enveloped by the new lava field, and it's still outgassing on its edges.
Yeah, so we're getting a lot more colors here along the margin of the flow where these sulfuric gases are coming out, and you've got the water vapor. So you get a host of chemical compounds, minerals, if you will, along the edges of these flow fields. And this can go on for some time. I think Fagradalsfjeld is still outgassing, and those flows are,
you need to go up, sorry.
Up to 4 years old. Up, there we go.
Yeah. And just keep going forward. We're behind the mountain. We're entirely relying on the mobile phone network. But was the quality okay on your end?
That's really it looks good. Yeah, we haven't lost it. It's not pixelating or anything. It looks still
It's really working well.
So this is this channel. This was the channel that hugged the hillside here, and then went across the road. And then this was the one that went into the Blue Lagoon parking lot, if I'm not mistaken.
That's it. You can see it's a bit darker than.
Yeah, but you can actually see it. The channel is actually drained. When it drained down, it kind of creates a low spot, and as that lava cools, it's topographically lower than it was previously. Just kind of hug the hillside here.
That mountain never looks the same 2 days in a row.
Really?
It looks like, from where I'm standing and the sun is shining on that part, it looks like, I don't know, like some red brownish.
Yeah, some big cracks here in the flow field.
It was covered with a thin layer of ice just a few days ago.
Oh, really?
And someone was flying with me and just turning the drone in circles and asking if we were filming in color or this was some kind of silver monochrome effect I was using. No, it just never looks the same 2 days in a row. And for our audience, if you want to book a flight, it's really even more interesting when it's not erupting, because obviously when it's erupting, people just want to go straight for where the lava flow is.
Right.
And,
yeah, I think it's more interesting. I mean, I think they're both good experiences, just different, but I find these flights just as interesting as, where the red stuff's the glowy stuff, like. Over the top of it, I guess. So nice view there. You can see the cone out in the distance. I think that's one we just flew by from the August eruption. You can see the snow in the mountains off in the distance. A little bit of snow here. At least looks a little frosty on the shaded side of the hill.
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. You can see here on top, you can see the new lava field. It's black and it's still warm enough to melt the snow.
Right.
But a thin layer of thin icy layer on top of the lava here around it, which is around 2,300 years old, of course. So it's cooled down a long time ago.
Right.
Now, Faraday shuttle in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
On a day like this, we could do a flight over there like we did a year ago.
Yeah, I can see the cone sticking up just on the ridge. If folks can see this little black line just at the top of that flat ridge, just above this cone in the middle ground, that's the 2021 spatter cone from the eruption up there.
It's a good time to visit Iceland too. It's not full of tourists.
Yeah.
And these amazing winter weathers are just, you know, still a little bit of snow and northern lights, of course, which we don't have in summer.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no nighttime during summer. So.
What's your how much daylight is in this time of year?
It's getting longer by the day, really fast.
Yeah, I bet you're adding
on a day like this, I'd say 5:30. But the twilight is quite long, especially now in Grindavik. When the sun sets, obviously it sets more like south-southwest rather than west because it sets early. And it's setting over the sea. And if there's a clear sky, you have an extra hour of daylight, really, because Grindavik is on the south shore. All right, he wants to go home now.
Yep.
I'm going to take over. And
yeah, you're fine. Take over and get it back safely. So we'll head back, let Johan recharge the battery, and then on our second flight, we'll go further south, down towards Hagafelt, and be able to go to Grindavik and get a little closer to the power plant area. It'll be off to our west. But yeah, that's a beautiful day. That's Blvd day in Iceland.
Amazing.
I mean, I tell there's not much wind just by looking at the steam coming off the power plants, just going straight up.
So up here with the wind shear, mountain waves, it's 0.5 meters a second.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets. You're not going to get it much better than that.
That's the definition of no wind at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty neat experience. Again, NatureEye.com is the place to go. Just look and see what their options are. You can do stuff in Iceland. I think Johan has several. You have more than one access point for this area in Iceland. You have the one at the south end by the greenhouse, and then this point. Yeah.
I'm using 3.
Okay.
So our good old place down in Grindavik, and then we fly from the south to the north up to here, and then of course the place of the site of the car park where you can hike to see the lava fields from the 2021 to March 23, the 3 eruptions. We can fly all over the area.
Right. So you could you could do several. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, if you're a returning customer, you can request, you know, if you want to see a different area. It depends on weather. Like the other day, it was too windy down in Grindavik and only 5 meters a second up here. And if there's a northerly wind, then I'll be down in Grindavik flying.
Right. Yeah. So depending on folks, just what they want to see, the weather. But you could do, you could book, several flights there with Johan and see very different things, different lighting conditions, different parts of the Reykjanes, like. So don't feel like it's just, well, I did that one, I'm done with that one. I feel like I've certainly done multiple flights, and they've all been very different and unique and memorable. So we'll let Johan recharge the battery, and just let you know kind of the order of things here. Once we get our battery in and we do our second flight, we will, after that, we'll let Johan go and thank him, and then we'll do a little update on some of the latest data and information going on in Iceland over the last few weeks. There's actually been quite a bit of activity and news, mostly on the lines of earthquakes in different parts of the country that we'll talk about. And then we'll wrap up by allowing you to submit any questions you want. You can put those in the live chat. Just follow the prompts from our moderators, and want to give them a special shout out and thanks to Amanda Jo and Susan and Lisa for being our moderators on the live chat. They definitely help keep it organized and kind of keep me on track and give us a overall better experience. So thanks to them for doing that with us here. So hopefully folks are doing well. Let's take a peek over here at the live chat. Looks like we have a lot of our regulars. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, someone asked here. I got one question I can maybe address. Asking for a friend. What are the colors, red, yellow, gray, black, etc., on the lava field cones caused by sulfur or iron? Yeah, it's both really. It's just different compounds. You have to consider the rock itself, which is iron and magnesium rich, and then the gases that come out have mostly sulfur, but there's some other things as well, and so you get those all those reactions chemically that are precipitating out those different minerals. So you know, there's native sulfur, that would be the yellow stuff that you see there, and then various other sulfate minerals, things like if it's calcium and sulfur that are bonding together with some oxygen, you might get gypsum. There's some other minerals as well. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but that's what imparts a lot of the colors. And then just the breakdown of the basalt over time, it oxidizes, and so it's just like rust because it's iron rich. And so you'll get different shades of red and brown, sometimes even yellow, all from that breakdown there. Looks like we have a full battery. Yeah, okay. All right. As soon as I have a takeoff button, we'll go do another flight.
You don't have one? Oh.
Nope.
There you go.
But you look beautiful in this nice soft sunset glow there.
Oh, thank you, Shawn.
All right, here we go. We're good now.
All right.
Up, up, and away. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the pit stop.
So a good thing now to fly towards Stora Skofeld, its southern edge, to where the crater row begins. It's smoking or steaming heavily all the way down to our favorite mountain.
Okay. I think I turned the long way there, but that's all right. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you're like the Zoolander. You have to do a full circle.
So that direction right there where I can see all the steam coming up. Higher.
Yeah, just go this way. We'll catch the entire crater row on the way up north when we go back. And then we have the sun in our back rather than...
Oh, yeah. That would be nice.
Just let me know if you're overexposed, because I've just got a little screen. I'm turning down the brightness just a little notch.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep the horizon just barely at the top of the screen, but tilt the camera down so we get most of the lava field.
That's a very good strategy. This camera, that's the best way to go for this camera.
Right, so we're heading out to where you can see all the gases and steam coming out of the ground. This is the line of the craters along the Sunuk craters. So this is where we saw many of the vents open up from these eruptions over the past year or so. Most of them were in this area. We had the one way south near Grindavik. We had the one in August that was a little further north, but the bulk of the eruptions have all taken place more or less along this line. We're gonna head for those two cones there, and then we'll turn and head southward. And these, of course, are feeding flows. When we get eruptions here, we have lava that flows off to the east, which really isn't a problem because there's lots of space out there. It kind of runs into the mountains, and there's no infrastructure, so that lava just kind of stays put and cools slowly. Good place for it, but the problems are when the lava flows that come out of these fissures roll off to the west. These are the ones that have flown over the road and threatened the Blue Lagoon area and the power plant. So that direction, and we'll get to this later in the update, but Amanda Jo sent me an article. They're looking to raise the berms up to 9 meters. So remember, every time there's an eruption, that sometimes fills in, the lava fills in up next to the berm, and so now the berm's not as high as it was before the eruption. And so that if you're going to keep playing the game, you got to keep adjusting, and that means raising the berms up a little higher each time. We can see one of these lava channels here, just on our left, that flowed out of these craters. The other thing happening to the flow field too is, especially with the Iceland winter weather, is we've got all these fractures, and the water with the rain and the snow melt can get down in those, and then it freezes at night when it's cold, and then that causes expansion. And so we're slowly breaking this somewhat smooth lava flow field up into pieces of rock that can then be turned into soil, and this is how you start regenerating soils, and vegetation and moss can start to grow over the top of it. Yeah, so let's start over here with this one, and then we'll turn and head to the south from this one. So got a couple different spatter cones here along the fissure row.
I don't know which I like better, looking at them in the snow with all the melt, or on a day like this when the colors just come out.
Yeah, with the low sun angle, it's really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, even just the gases coming out, just that wispy little look there is just very nice. Just enough of a breeze to kind of move it. Kind of come around this one here, and then we'll fly down along them. Might be a little tricky to see because we'll be flying towards the sun, but like Johan said, once we turn around and fly back, we'll have the sun at our back, and we'll probably get a little bit better look at things.
You can fly a bit higher and point the camera down and just follow the crater row.
Okay.
And it won't be just a little above the horizon, a little below the horizon. Sorry. And then, so once we're down at our favorite crater, the one from May 29th, which is still steaming, I can see it right from here, direct line of sight. And you can turn your back to the sun, and we can see it.
Okay. Maybe use a little bit more of our time and juice coming back, because that'll be the better view, perhaps. Ah, that's just gorgeous. It's just volcanic beauty right there. It always gives me. Go ahead, Johan. Sorry.
No, you were taking a picture. I was just changing the brightness at the same time. I may have messed up your picture if you want another one.
Yeah, let's go back and get another one real quick. But I always get chills looking at these types of landscapes, because this is Earth. Like if you were going a time machine back, 4 billion years or so ago, this is kind of how it would look, right? This is volcanoes, this landscape with no vegetation, no animals, just primordial Earth. And so these types of eruptions in this kind of landscape we have in Iceland is just it's a time capsule, really. We are in a time machine. We've flown back to, billions of years in Earth's past, and we're looking at the landscape. And this could be any continent. This wouldn't have to be Iceland. This could be wherever you live. This was sort of like the origins of so much of our planet was back then. I think if I wasn't flying the drone, I could make that a little more eloquent, but I think you get the idea. Yeah, that's just awesome right there with all the steam coming out and the sun. I'm going to point the camera down more, even though it's nice to kind of see ahead. So yeah, right along the fissures here with these fractures that open up. We expect the next eruption would probably be somewhere in this area, somewhere along this trend. Seems to be the pathway. And as we saw with the last eruption, it occurred with very little precursory earthquake activity. So the seismic activity was muted somewhat over what we'd seen with some of the other eruptions. Seems like the pathway and the conduits for the magma to get to the surface have been pretty well established. It's almost like I'm like when you're hiking and you're just looking down at your feet because you don't want to look up, might trip. I feel like I'm flying that way. not sure where I'm going, but I don't want to look up because I'm looking into the sun.
You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. I lost my. Gotta look up real quick here to see where the rest of my craters are.
We're
There we
heading
go.
straight
Okay,
for it.
I'm in the right direction. Okay, great. Yeah, but lots of colors down here on the lava field. And again, just these flows from big white patch there. Previously, a lot of outgassing. And we're just looking at this sort of twisted landscape of overlapping and convoluted flows and cones. We've seen in some of these eruptions that a fissure can tear up a previous cone. There's a channel right there below us coming out of this cone here. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is a sexy piece of rock right there, my friend. Good stuff. Maybe I'll try the, I'm not good at this, but there's the Johan like sideways.
Right, yeah. So with your right hand,
yeah,
you
I can
do
just keep
forward
moving
and
right.
to the right.
Yeah. And we could
And then
just,
you yaw in the opposite direction.
but I could also just cruise along the crater row sideways like this, right? Or is it a little bit slower going sideways?
No, you can do sideways, and then you can just yaw in the opposite direction with your left hand with the A button.
That's a nice looking cone there.
Yeah, that's our lava pool here from.
Oh, I remember this one. That was I can't. Was that the? No, that was November, right?
No, that's the May 29th eruption.
Oh, it is May. Okay, but I remember that was the perched lava pond right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's on the south side of our favorite crater here.
Yeah.
It was really iconic because in the crater, the lava was just simmering on like a couple of Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Mm-hmm.
But the lava breakouts were not coming from the crater itself, but from all around it. That pool on the south side breaking to the east, overflowing, and then all those underground channels just breaking out on the north side.
That one is gorgeous. Just the colors on this one is just, that's the cover shot right there.
Yeah, it is. That's the money shot. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Boom. Go. Tire off that photo right there. Okay, let's go a little further to go, right?
We can. We're gonna have a mountain in between us, but there's really good 4G signal.
Okay.
We're close to Mount Thorbjorn. There's a cell tower on it, but we're gonna get overexposed. Well, the signal is actually not that good. You just let me know if it starts.
Okay, if it pixelates or something, right?
Yeah, because you can see the outcome there. It's doing a little twitching. And then, yeah, you can, as we discussed before, you can overfly the mountain to the north and follow the crater all the way up to Stora again. We still have 60% left on the battery because there is no wind at all.
That's great. Yeah, so hopefully folks are enjoying this. If you're just joining us, we're here with Johan from NatureEye. I'm flying the drone here in my office in Idaho. Johan's there on the ground in Iceland. And you're wherever you are, which could be anywhere in the world, and just incredible technology. And you can have this experience also if you go to natureye.com. If you want to save a little bit of money, you can put in Shawn Fly, my name, ShawnFly, and that'll get you a 10% off your flight. You can use it for yourself, use it for a friend, family member, anyone you want to gift it to. You can buy a gift thing. Maybe you don't know where you want to fly, but you just want to have this experience at some point. You can purchase a gift card, and then it's all pretty easy. It's just pushing buttons on your keyboard, moving the drone around. If you want to have the pilot move it more, you can let them do that, and they're there to make sure you you keep it safe. So now we're at the, it looks like we're at the south end of Hagefeld. And this big,
yeah, that's our favorite
crack, yeah,
crack in the ground here.
Mm-hmm. And this one was this May or was this August?
I think this crack opened up pretty early on, already in the February eruption.
Okay.
Remember that old mine that filled up with lava?
Yes.
That's just down here.
Okay, that's right.
And so yeah, you can fly closer to that, and that's about as far as we go. We're already almost 5 kilometers out. Not the safest place to hike, might I add.
Right. Look at that. Trying to get into this this gaping chasm of gases here. Kind of ominous. Zoom back out just a bit, maybe. Yeah, crazy. And then that should allow us also to take a quick look, and we'll turn around here at there's good end of it.
Our old spot.
Yep,
right there.
There's the berm. I know a lot of folks will want to see the town and berm. So there's the setting sun on the tranquil ocean. Yeah. Greenhouse.
It's a little out of focus. Let me just fix that.
Yeah, you're good. And Thorpjord. Towers on it. And then Blue Lagoon power plant area. There's the berm on the east side here. There's look at all the cracks on Hagafeld. You know, next time I'm there, I don't know if I can get up, if they'll let me go there, but I just want to hike on Hagafeld. I want to just look at the rocks on Hagafeld. It's probably not a good idea with all the cracks, but yeah.
Well, if you ask Thorbjörn Search and Rescue nicely,
yeah,
I'm sure they will accompany you.
Okay. If I play my I'm a friend of Johan card, maybe that'll swing the meter a little bit.
No, you're a friend of Iceland.
Okay, well,
Shawn, already. So
yeah,
you don't have to play anything. Just show up.
Oh, this is great lighting here. This is fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Perfect time. So now we're flying from more or less southwest to northeast up the row of craters and fissures. See some of the degassing here, and there's the real moneymaker shot there, that beautiful cone straight in front of us. Get a nice look at this, and then we'll head back when we need to.
You can just keep on flying in that direction towards the volcano.
Okay.
And then everybody can see really the perspective here, how long this fissure is. It's about 8 kilometers, and it's just steaming the whole way.
Yeah, you can see like way in the distance, right?
Exactly.
Impressive. This is great.
We're coming into our RC signal range now again, so your flight will be a little bit smoother.
Oh, the colors on that are just fantastic. That's just
depending on where the sun is.
Yeah, no, I can see how you get picking the time of day and such is really important.
Of course, I like it best in high winter with snow everywhere. One of our customers caught something the other day that they've never seen before. I guess most people have never seen. So, heavy snowdrift and sunshine at the same time.
Yeah, so it was snowing and the sun was out.
Yeah.
I've experienced that just here in Idaho, but yeah, it's if you're not used to that kind of weather, it's like, wait, how can these two things that are opposite be happening at the same? I imagine in Iceland that probably happens all the time.
Well, it's a bit like rain showers when you have sun and rainbow, but
right.
The frosty version.
Always keeping us on our toes, right? Weather. So that's Stora Stokfelt there. Straight ahead.
So yeah, where's it gonna erupt next? So, of course, last time the three main craters, the southern one was just flowing southeast. The middle one was the one with the lava torrent that we just flew over on the first flight, going west, looping around towards Blue Lagoon and the power plant. Not so nice, but the northernmost crater was just flowing towards Fagradalsfjall to the east and to the north.
Right, that was this.
So that would be our most ideal location for the next eruption. If it could just stay there and erupt nicely, and
right, you got plenty of space there to just put a bunch of lava on the ground, right?
Exactly, it could just go on for weeks and months and just fan out over there.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah, that keep imagine the people working on the berms and some of these other things are really cranking the overtime when they need to be out there doing that.
We haven't had a word with our favorite geologist here to get an exact date and time on the next eruption, like we did sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't really been on the money with his.
Well, yeah, I've found that a lot of the quote unquote predictions just, you know, there was the one Icelandic geologist that thought it was going to move over to Eldvörp really soon, and then there was the two that thought it was all going to die out in the summer, and that didn't happen. And yeah,
I think it's just wishful thinking, and the fact that, of course, you know, the positive predictions, you know, are more likely to be
well received. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to be a doomsday sayer, you know.
Right. I don't mind, you know, you can make whatever prediction you want, but you need, for me, you need some data. I need, like, okay, what are you basing this on? And if it's just, you know, just wishful thinking, like you said, or whatever.
We're just watching this data, of course, in real time, but we have these three previous eruption phases.
Right.
The one from the 12th century till the early 14th. And remember, I actually pointed out to you the other day that where I'm standing in Arnarsetur, in 1304, if I remember correctly, there was a sort of like an extra finale eruption from there in 1304, and that actually flowed to the north all the way, almost down to Vogar, down to Reykjanesbraut, the road to the airport. And it was quite, you know, it was quite an outlier because it wasn't really sort of part of what had been going on for 140 years. Just
something that was kind of like
anomaly in
a different spot, right?
Then we have the one 2,300 years ago, or ish, when it actually erupted here in Sundhnúkagígar, which it did not do last time. And then we have this one, what was it, around 4,600 years ago. So we have these three previous phases, and the fourth that's ongoing now, that have been studied carefully. And but then again, Reykjanes hasn't really been studied all that carefully, you know, compared to like Krafla up in the northeast of Iceland. I mean, it's not the most studied.
Well, and for good reason. It's, you know, it's you know, although I think now it's like, whoa, we built our airports here, and there's a lot of infrastructure there. But you're right, it hadn't erupted for such a long time that seemed like it, you know, wouldn't be a problem for a while until it was.
Yeah.
Well, that last like 5-10 minutes there was just, that was fantastic. That was really awesome.
So we were here on our first flight.
Right. Yeah, I recognize that cone.
We flew all the way to the August eruption, the northernmost, and the most recent crater from the November 20th, right there.
Yep.
Always nice to overfly Stora Stokfelt.
Yeah, look at just how nice that sits in the sunlight.
The contrasts are just amazing. And the outgassing is still ongoing here on the edge.
Right. So Stora Stokfelt is surrounded by lava on all sides, isn't it? This fresh lava.
Yeah, it's been completely enveloped.
So in Hawaii, they would call that hill then a kipuka. That's the name for
I'm sure they do.
that's the name for a hill or a topographic high point that's completely surrounded by lava. And in Hawaii, it's neat because a lot of times the kipukas will, it's a rainforest, so there's a lot of vegetation and trees and stuff, but it's like a little island oasis, and all the plants and animals that live there are somewhat isolated because that lava field can be large and expansive, and some animals and plants can't spread away from that. So often studied by biologists because they're their own little kind of isolated habitat. And I suppose you have the same thing here.
Ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. It's same thing here. It's just, not much growing on Stora Stokefelt except moss. But there's probably some insects
I think we were a little inaccurate here.
Yeah, that backside's got a little gap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite enveloped.
Yeah,
but almost.
Almost close.
So, what do you call a house on a hill like that? Is there a name for it?
In Hawaii?
Well, I guess you can call it a kipuki house or something.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a name for that. A house on the hill. The old ancient Hawaiian kind of temples, if you will, are called heiaus, like stone constructs that they used for their mythology. So we need to take you to Hawaii, fly around.
Yeah, I need to add that language to my portfolio.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll get someone to sponsor us, and we'll get you over there and fly around. So that would be great. Well, thanks so much for this, Johan. This has been fantastic. You and NatureEye are always so good to us here, and I want to encourage again our viewers one last time to keep Johan busy. Keep him busy with flights. Think about purchasing a flight for yourself or gifting one to another. It's a great experience. I think everyone can see what the benefit is here. No 2 days alike in Iceland, so you get different weather conditions and lighting. The sun's changing quickly day to day. So great experience. So thanks for braving the elements today, Johan, although I suppose this is about as good as it gets for this time of year.
Yeah. So I'm going to get back to testing my little drone build here. Or sorry, my big drone build here.
Yeah, he's got his little project drone there on the ground.
I will be seeing you next time. And
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, everyone on the live chat.
NatureEye.com.
Yep, they're all saying thank you to you, Johan. We appreciate it, and I know we'll fly again soon. So just let me know when you want to make that happen. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Take care, my friend. Bye. Alrighty, so that was great. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that little 2 flights we did with NatureEye and Johan. Just fantastic experience. I just, at this point, sometimes it's a little more sciencey. I think it's always a little bit sciencey, but felt like those flights were just, aesthetics and just kind of taking in the scenery, and that's fine too. Sometimes it's all about just enjoying the visuals that we have there and just appreciating that landscape that we've come to know and love. So excellent stuff. Great. So we'll continue on with our live stream then. Thank you all again for joining me here. Thanks again to Amanda Jo and Lisa and Susan who are moderating our live chat. We're going to get to our Iceland update here in a second, and then we'll do your question and answers. I just wanted to let people know just a couple announcements real quick. The website, Amanda Jo continues to do great things with the website, so I encourage you to check it often, willseygeology.com. If you weren't aware, we do have products available. So if you want to get a shirt or a hat or a hoodie, stickers, those are available on the website. She sometimes adds new things. So I think we have a new tumbler, like a mug that's there as well. But we've heard great things from the folks who have ordered some of the apparel, that the quality's really good. The hoodies are nice and soft. Fit is good. I don't think I've heard a negative thing yet, so that's all great news. We have several different logos, different colors, sizes, all that good stuff. So just making you aware of that if you are interested. And then the next thing on the website is I have got a few dates for some field trips put together. So just want to go through these one at a time. So I guess a pair of field trips I have in April 11th and 12th. These are based around Twin Falls. And so this first one here is in the Snake River Canyon around Twin Falls. Great record of floods. The Bonneville flood different volcanic episodes, including the passage of this part of Idaho over the Yellowstone hotspot. So if you're interested in that, you can reserve your tickets, and if you click there, it brings you to another page that has a little bit more details, where you're meeting, the times, and so forth. So that is for Friday, April 11th. April 12th is the next day, and it is an area just to the west of Twin Falls, about half an hour away. We'll visit places like Box Canyon, Malad Gorge. We'll be near the Hagerman fossil beds, looking at some of the different features and landscapes where lava and water have sort of interacted over the past few million years. Pretty interesting area. And then the other field trip that's on a very different date and a bit disjointed, and I need to give this one a little bit of context, is on Thursday, June 26th. And this is up in central Idaho near the Sawtooth Mountains. And this will be a field trip across Redfish Lake on a boat shuttle. And then we'll hike up Redfish Canyon and look at the effects of glaciation, talk about the earthquakes that have occurred there. There's some mass wasting and rockfall features. Look at parts of the Eocene Sawtooth Pluton, these granitic rocks that are up there. And maybe this is worth, just if you're not familiar with the area, at least showing you on a map kind of how all this stacks up. So here's Twin Falls, and those two field trips in April will be pretty much in this area here, very close to Twin Falls. But that field trip in June is up past Sun Valley, the resort town of Sun Valley. These are the Sawtooth Mountains right here, probably the most iconic, scenic mountain range in Idaho. And what we'll do here, this is Redfish Lake, this large lake that sits behind a moraine. So glaciers actually came down out of the Sawtooths and went all the way across the valley floor here. But we'll meet here at the lawn in front of the Redfish Lake Lodge, right on the beach. We'll go out to the marina and take a boat across the lake. Really pretty. It only takes about 10-12 minutes or so, but really pretty boat ride. That'll get us to this little dock over here. There it is right there. And then what we'll do, I think it's about a 1.8 mile hike up the canyon, and we will end the hike right here on this outcrop, which is just a few, maybe 100 feet or so up above the trail. You can see the trail's a dotted line here. The whole elevation gain, I think, for the hike is 700 feet. Convert that to meters, sorry. 1.8 miles is probably 3 kilometers or so. And so we'll look at some things along the way. So if you sign up for that, just make sure that you're able to do the hike. It's not, I wouldn't say it's definitely not a strenuous hike. Pretty gentle grade. It's a nice, well-established trail. It's really not super steep anywhere. So pretty much from the boat dock up here to this outcrop and then back down. That's the plan for that day. So that's the location for that field trip. Why is there only one field trip date then? Well, this is where it gets a little tricky. So the next day, the next 2 days, the 27th and 28th of June, I'm planning to meet up with, and many of you know this person, Nick Zentner, who's another YouTube geologist. He and I are going to do some things in the area on the 27th and 28th. We will have an opportunity for folks to meet up with us either in the morning for like a little morning kind of lecture thing, or in the evening for like a, gather at the park, bring a to-go bag of dinner, like get something to go, and then meet together. So I'll get more details out for those later, but I wanted to piggyback that trip that I'm making with Nick, piggyback at least one field trip onto that. So I chose this one here, this Redfish Lake and Canyon trip on the 26th. So anyhow, so hopefully those are of interest to folks. They are capped at I think 20 or 25, I can't remember. And so if you're interested and you think you can make it, I encourage you to sign up. If you need to clear some things or check things, that's fine too. And if you can't catch these, that's okay. I plan to repeat these field trips going into the future each year at different times. And I'll do some more in the fall. I just haven't figured out the dates and locations for the fall trips. So, so there we go. So those are some announcements. Let's get to our Iceland update. While we were starting the flight with Johan, there was a new Met Office update that came out that Amanda Jo sent me, but I did not have a chance to read it because I was flying the drone. So quite literally, we're going to do this together. We're going to read this or review this latest update from the Met Office together and digest it together. So here we go. So this is today, January 21st, 2:10 p.m. local time. Landrise continues on the Sunuk Crater series, but the pace has slowed slightly. So the big highlight points here, the speed of inflation, this is Iceland and Google, or Google is translating it to English. So there's maybe a little bit of weird, wonky language here, but we'll correct it as we go. The speed of landrise has slowed slightly in recent weeks. The change does not affect the previous assessment of the likely scenarios. According to model calculations, it can be assumed that the probability of a magma flow and even an eruption excuse me, at the Sunuk Crater series will increase in late January or early February. So those have been kind of known factors, I suppose. Seismic activity has been low, and the risk assessment is valid until January 28th. So they haven't changed that. GPS measurements show the speed of landrise has slowed slightly in recent weeks, but interpreting individual GPS points can be tricky, right? So one point up, next one's down. So you have to look at the trend over a longer period of time. Disturbances this time of year mean there is greater variation between days due to weather conditions. So the weather's affecting those GPS points just a tiny bit. And what they need then is long-term measurements need to be looked at, which show continued landrise. The scenario is therefore still in full swing and is developing very similarly to the previous eruption. And so according to model calculations, late January, early February is when they're looking at it. And then they've got a graph there over the past year showing the uplift. So this is the last eruption, November 20th. Here's our current trajectory coming up. And the assumption would be we need to reach this threshold or close to this threshold of these last 2 points here from these two previous eruptions in order for this next eruption to take place. We're kind of getting close to that window, and that's why they're saying late January, early February. And that's it. So that's pretty much it for the Met Office update. Earthquakes have been a big news item in Iceland over the past few weeks in the absence of other data and not having an eruption to look at. So I do want to look at the earthquakes and also maybe take you down the line of thinking that I sort of had with respect to earthquakes. So here's the last 24 hours. Pretty much what you'd expect, nothing big happening. Again, this is just 24 hours, so pretty small sample size. Near Grindavik and near the Sunuk craters, really nothing happening there. A few scattered quakes over in the Krýsuvík area near Lake Kleifravatn, and then some offshore little swarm happening near Eldi here, including the biggest one here's look like about maybe a 2.3. Last week of earthquakes in Iceland, starting with the Reykjanes, there was a 3.3 near Keilir. So remember, this is our crater row we just flew over here. This is the Fagradalsfjall area that erupted 2021 to 2023. This is part of the greater sort of Krýsuvík system. There's Keilir right there. And so this is up near, I think, Chutladinja. And so 3.3 here. Again, I feel like we're kind of at a point now where, because we've had eruptions over the past 4 years, it feels like, at least through the media, that any significant earthquake that's felt or reported, a lot of people's first sort of reaction goes to, oh, is there going to be an eruption? And really, I hope to convey here with part of this update that no, there's a lot of other things that need to happen before we get an eruption. We have to remember this is a active plate boundary, and fault movements and earthquakes are to be considered the norm. So other earthquakes over the last day that were noteworthy were over here, the Barðabunga. So this is the big Vatnajökull glacier, the largest glacier in Iceland and, in fact, all of Europe. And we did have, I think, about maybe 6 or so days ago, a swarm of earthquakes underneath this area. The biggest one was, I think there was one bigger than that, 4.9. Maybe that was the biggest one, though. I think there was a 5, but you can see all the circles there, 4s and maybe 5s, and then smaller quakes as well. happening here. Of course, there is a volcano here, which last erupted in 2014, but not from this summit caldera, actually erupted down along these flank vents to the north. And that's actually probably a more likely scenario here. But in the moment when this happened, this was a big news story, and even UK news and other places in Europe picked it up, and one of Iceland's biggest volcanoes is about to blow, and then here we are. You know, the earthquakes have now come and gone almost a week, and no eruption. And so sort of put a pin in that. We still have the little seismic swarm here in this area, the Ösafjöld. And so this is an area north of Reykjavik and kind of at the east end of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. And so we've got these earthquakes here, which we can discuss as well. So what I thought might be kind of helpful to kind of put this all into context is, and let's see if this is a helpful exercise or not, but I used the same database here, and I put together a map. And so this is Iceland's, this is from January 1st, 2024, right through December 31st, 2024. So all of the 2024 earthquakes in Iceland look like this. Okay, so here's, you know, the Reykjanes, obviously, the Barðabunga, Askja, Hrafla, all these other places, right? So you can kind of see the distribution of where we see earthquakes over this past year. And of course, over this past year, the only place we've seen eruptions was on the Reykjanes. Well, then I went a little further and thought, well, I wonder what this looked like. And I just randomly picked years. So here's 2022. 2022. Let me show you 2024 again. 2024, 2022. Does it look that different? Not really. It looks pretty much the same. Okay, so we're seeing earthquakes along and close to the plate boundary and associated with some of these volcanoes. So this is 2022. Okay, same distribution. Then I got even crazier and thought, well, what about, let's pick another year. Let's go back before all the Reykjanes eruptions. Let's go to 2012. So here's 2012, 2022, 2024. And what I'm kind of hoping to convey here is that no matter what year you pick, earthquakes of various sizes pretty much happen in the same areas in Iceland year to year. Now, there's a few anomalies, right? This Ösafjöld area north of the capital, it's there in 2024. It's there in 2022. But in 2012, 13 years ago, not really there, right? This area right here. But the main players are always going to be there year in and year out. The Reykjanes Ridge, the Reykjanes Peninsula, over through Krýsuvík, this branch that comes up over here. This is tracking more or less the plate boundary and these volcanic zones, right? There's a transformed plate boundary here, another one that comes up through here, and then it goes off to the north of Iceland. And then the database only goes back to 2009, so I thought, well, let's put 2009 in there. So here's all the earthquakes in Iceland as recorded by seismometers in 2009. So 2009, real quick, just a quick review, 2009, 2012, 2022, and 2024. I intentionally tried to move around, like I didn't pick 2014, 15 because that was the Barðabunga eruption. I didn't pick Eyjafjallajökull in 2010. I wanted to stay away from those and just try to find a typical year of quakes. And so what I'm hoping this is conveying nicely is what I would call recency bias, because we have these earthquakes that have been happening, that are in the news. We're more connected than ever before with social media. So 13 years ago, if there was earthquakes happening in Iceland, I probably wasn't aware of a lot of that unless it was really kind of heightened, like in 2010. And it was kind of a mainstream media thing. But now, because I'm on different Facebook groups and different things where people are focused on Iceland geology, we're very aware, or this program, my YouTube channel is contributing to this recency bias as well. We discuss and we hear about these very recent events. But when we look at the data and we look at this last year, or 3 years ago, or 13 years ago, or 15 years ago, 16 years ago, it kind of all looks the same, right? Iceland has quakes in certain regions because of its setting as a hotspot in a plate boundary. You know, you could argue that, yeah, there might be, you know, the circles got a little bigger this year. The quakes were a little bigger, but the distribution is pretty much the same. And so hopefully that helps us maybe relax a little bit when we hear about quakes like the this 3.3 over here east of Keilir. By no means did I think that meant anything other than there was an earthquake. And earthquakes are common in this part of Iceland. I by no means thought it was a sign that an eruption was about to begin or that magma was moving there. Plates are moving. There's lots of faults that run through Iceland moving around as well. And so we shouldn't expect that every earthquake, or even a sizable earthquake, even if it's near a volcano, is going to also coincide with an eruption. To get an eruption, we're going to need to see a lot of signals. Think about what we saw in Grindavik in late 2023. Intense seismic activity, intense ground deformation, right? Earthquakes that basically evacuated a whole town. They were so violent in terms of the shaking. And even then, on November 10th, there wasn't an eruption. Now, there was a month later, but there wasn't on November 10th. So I guess the point here is to maybe, even though the media and other folks might be alarmists, we're maybe a little bit smarter than that, in that we're going to look at the data, we're going to look and see, and we're going to realize that typically it's going to take several days, weeks, months, a trend of scientific data that's maybe going to culminate in an eruption. So I just don't want us living and dying by every little whim and earthquake that occurs in Iceland, because we're going to hear about a lot more earthquakes happening, and most of those will not be accompanied with an eruption. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully that stream of consciousness made some sort of sense there. Wasn't meant to be a lecture. If my kids were here, they would definitely call that a lecture. Okay, other things from Iceland, then we'll come to you viewers here. So looking at the GPS and looking at the Svartsengi site, you can see the last eruption here, November 20th, and here's our trend since then. And it kind of ebbs and flows, right? There definitely is an uplift trend to the whole thing. But if you look in detail, there's places where it's kind of flat, then it accumulates, and then it flattens. A little trend here where it's flat-ish, and then it went up. And the last few data points here show little inflation. Now, the error bars are kind of big, so take that with a grain of salt. Our last two data points, which again should also be taken with a large grain of salt, do show uplift. And so this could be instrumentation, could be the weather, small little bits of error, or it could just be the sort of erratic nature of magma influx, that it's not a steady volume that corresponds to a steady uplift of the ground, that it sort of fits and starts a little bit. But nonetheless, the trend is there. We expect the inflation to continue, and we're getting much closer to that threshold. Maybe another few centimeters of uplift is all that's going to need to trigger either an intrusion or a full-blown eruption. The INSAR data, I don't know if it's, this was the best one I could find. I don't know if this pixelated view here might represent snow was on the ground, maybe on one pass in certain areas, but you can see here crudely the bands of color that show that inflation is continuing. This is from December 31st to January 11th, so a little bit older, but this was the best one I could find that kind of showed the banding that we typically see from these interferograms. And then finally, we talked about this in the flight. Thanks to Amanda Jo for sending me all the news reports that she does a great job helping me get prepared for these. But they are planning to raise the berms, or the barriers, up to 9 meters. So that work has already begun around both Grindavik and the Blue Lagoon and power plant area. So I'll put links to some of these on the video description after we get done with the live stream. So let's go ahead then and turn over to your question and answers. And I think I've already got a page of questions here from Amanda Jo. I do. Excellent. So we'll go to the first sheet. Maybe get a quick sip of water. Okay. Great. So from Oscar M, When basalt breaks down due to weathering, what minerals does it break down into? Well, when things break down, when rocks break down by weathering, you're just breaking the existing rocks down. So there's two types of weathering, right? There's physical or mechanical weathering, which is physically breaking the rock into pieces and doing it in place. So it could be frost wedging, so ice gets in the crack. The expansion of the ice when it forms causes the cracks to grow larger. That breaks the rock apart. So now instead of like a big cohesive expanse of basalt, now you have a bunch of slabs of basalt broken up. So you haven't really created any minerals through physical weathering. There's also chemical weathering where you can take different rocks, it depends on their compositions, and they can break down chemically. So a classic example of that is you've seen me use the little acid bottles on rocks made out of calcite or used on the mineral calcite. And it fizzes and it bubbles, and that is a chemical reaction. It's where actually every time we put a little drop of acid on there, we're chemically weathering, excuse me, that specific rock down a little bit. So now that being said, basalt can turn into some other iron-rich products when it weathers completely down into soils. You know, it might be like I'm not a soil scientist, but there's like laterites, and there's all these names for these different soils. But in terms of minerals, the only minerals you get from basalt is if you get, like we saw with the lava fields there, other things happening, other chemicals like gases interacting with the basalt, or if groundwater moves through basalt in the subsurface and introduces new elements to that basalt, you can get some chemical reactions and some minerals precipitating out in that manner. So hopefully that's kind of helpful. So it's not, and it depends on, there's a lot of different variations there, so it depends on exactly what's happening to the basalt before you can actually answer what specific minerals are being produced there. Thanks for your question though, Oscar. 3D modeler from Rotterdam. Can we see if an earthquake is tectonic or magmatic by the beach ball? Not really, because the beach ball, the focal mechanism solution, and I think everyone knows what those are, so I don't need to pull one up necessarily, but those will just tell you what type of fault produced the earthquake. So the earthquake was produced by rocks under stress, and then the rocks shifting and moving, and that generated seismic energy, which reverberated out. So the fault moved in a certain way. It might have moved side to side. It might have moved up and down. And so the beach ball tells you which way it moved, but it won't tell you if it's caused by tectonic or magmatic forces. That's why we need other data. We need to see uplift. We need to have the context of the area. We need to see other data to help us know that. But great question. Dane Johnson, do specialized geologists give you any criticism? Like in terms of like what I do here on YouTube? Sometimes, but rarely. And I'd say when that comes, it's usually constructive, which is nice. No one wants to just be told they're wrong and in a mean way. Trying to think of an instance where that's happened. I mean, I'm certainly corrected all the time. I'm by no means perfect, and so it's sometimes not even a specialized geologist, just people who are more informed on the topic than I am. So yeah, I don't know how else to explain that. And I try to definitely, you know, I try to do a good job. I'm probably not always successful of letting people know what I know for sure, and what maybe this is an inference or an interpretation versus, hey, I have no idea, but here's a few things I know about this. And so I try to be really careful about, you know, defining sort of the confidence in the knowledge I have. Let's see, fly-by-wire UK. I wonder how warm it is inside those cracks. Yeah, on the flyby there. Remember too, though, it's very cold in Iceland. Even though it was sunny out, it was still probably just like 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, just above freezing. And so that heat coming up, a lot of what we were seeing was just, you know, water vapor from, you know, the water that's maybe down inside the cracks. Some of it was outgassing of the lava, but most of it's just kind of cooling water vapor. But how warm would it be? I mean, it would definitely be warmer than the ambient air temperature. So if you stuck your hand down in one of those cracks, you could definitely feel heat and warmth there as opposed to what the ambient air temperature is. But I'm not sure, you know, exactly how hot those would be. From Digavolt, what does the steam consist of? Is it just water vapor, or does it contain other chemicals too? Yeah, a lot of times it can contain other chemicals. Water vapor is one, and you might get the water vapor going on for some time. If you get rain, it goes down, and there's still heat, then you're turning that water into gas, into water vapor, and so that would be steam kind of coming back up. But you can have hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide. I think there's fluorine gas, carbon dioxide. Those are all different things coming out. A lot of times when you see more of a bluish hue to the outgassing portion of a volcanic area, those are some of those sulfur compounds. From Carrie Crane, is Iceland an oceanic plateau? Good question. I don't know exactly how an oceanic plateau is defined. It's probably defined by size. I would think so. I mean, the actual Icelandic plateau, if you will, actually extends out further than the land. You can actually see it here pretty nicely on Google Earth. So it's a sizable chunk of real estate. So I would assume so, but I don't know how that's defined by either geologists or landform specialists, so I'm not sure. From John Weiss, when do you think plate tectonics started? And if you don't think it was going since the Hadean, what sort of processes do you think existed before plate tectonics? Yeah, there's people that are researching this, like exactly when did Earth start to have plate tectonics? If it starts out as this hot, accreted planet, and it has initially mostly all basaltic material. We know that the oldest continental crust, I think, goes back to like 4.2 billion years. You could double check me on that. So for many geologists, the signal of continental crust, the oldest signal of continental crust, seems to be a pretty good proxy for when plate tectonics began. Because if you have continental crust and you have ocean crust, then you have two dissimilar crustal materials that when they collide, you're going to get subduction, and you're going to get probably movement, and you have the heat within the Earth. So yeah, I'm not an expert on that, but that would be some of my knowledge about that. From Jackie, what is your view on this system overprinting an ancient system, not putting well, but the way it's spreading out, can't it be a repeat of old land growth? I'm assuming she's talking about the Reykjanes area. And what is your view on this system overprinting? Well, it is overprinting an ancient system. So here's, this is before all the eruptions began. This is, August 2023. So this is before the December 2023 eruption. And the eruptions that we've seen in the Reykjanes have largely followed this old lineament, the Sunnukur crater row in this area. And so it is overprinting an older system that fed these lava flows that came all the way down into the Grindavik area. You can actually see where these flows went in the past. You can map those out. And so it is overprinting that. I hope that's your question. I hope I answered that okay. Jan Clancy, will you record or live stream your meeting with Nick, please? Yeah, it's not going to be possible. We're going to be up in the mountains. We are going to do some video recordings together. We're going to look at some rocks together. I'm actually going to take him rafting down a little section of river in Idaho to look at some rocks. And so we'll definitely be making videos together. But the big kind of meet and greet with people, I don't think it's just too much work. We both agreed that it would be just a lot simpler to not have to deal with that. So I apologize if not everything gets recorded, but I don't think we're going to be able to do the live stream part either. So, but yeah, thanks for your question there. I think that's it for question sheet, excuse me, 1. Yep, I got through all those. So Amanda Joe, if there's a second sheet of questions, if you want to send those through, that'd be great. I'll just grab one off the chat while we're waiting from, I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, so I apologize. Jelmer Sign, What determines the selection on the volcanoes shown in your Google Earth? Because these definitely aren't all of them, especially in the highlands between the big glaciers. Oh yeah, so I know I don't have them all. I have started to put on my Google Earth some of the Iceland, take the roads off there, some of the Iceland volcanoes. I am well aware that this is not all of them, but I just started on this. I started placing some of the bigger ones. So I know I'm missing some. I don't even have anything on the Reykjanes. Yeah, and I know there's more in here. I think there's one over here that I haven't got. Like Laki. Yeah, so this is by no means complete. This is just a start. I just wanted to get, so I, yeah, have a few of them on there now. But yeah, any suggestions you have, or if you see anything wrong, I tried to get the right spelling and lettering and location for all these. Yeah, I know there's more up here as well. So good questions though. All right, question sheet number 2. Thank you, Amanda Joe. Let's see, from my good friend Sandrine in France, who recently had a birthday. Have you received any new data analyses from Bruce Garner? I've not. So Bruce was one of our teammates and good members that oftentimes in the early stages of these eruptions would look at the uplift trajectory from the GPS station, and then he would use some mathematical and statistical analyses to extrapolate that and see and make a projection or a forecast of when we might see the next eruption. And he was, I think he was, definitely within, it wasn't always spot on, but it was pretty close. So I think he was doing a good job with that analyses. And I have not received anything from him. I only think since maybe November, so before the last eruption. So Bruce, if you're still listening and you're out there, we love to see your graphs, and I'll continue to show those and give you credit if you'd like to. If you're also too busy and life's kind of taking you in other directions, that's fine too. But we appreciated, just know we appreciated you doing those in the past. From Freak Glitcha, recently blew my own mind reading about the large low shear velocity provinces deep inside the earth. Do you have much knowledge on them or preferred theory as to how they came about? No, I don't have much knowledge on that. Yeah, I think it's seismic tomography and some of the cool ways that we're able to image deep inside the earth and see what happens to seismic waves as they move through the earth, places where they slow down and speed up, and how we can interpret that. I find it fascinating, but I'm definitely not an expert and haven't done as much reading on that as I would like to. Yeah, in regards to the berms, Jackie says, surely there must be a final height they can go to. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the berms are it's a work in progress. It's, they're doing well so far, but it's anyone's guess as to how long this, this series of eruption goes. I mean, if this goes on for years and decades potentially, like, can we keep up? Can we keep, because as the lava builds up higher in this area and you protect the Blue Lagoon and the power plant, what you're kind of doing is the lava flows are here, the Blue Lagoon's here, if you're looking at my hands. And if the lava flows get higher, the berms obviously have to get higher, but what you're also creating is a steeper gradient. And the stage could be set for lava to get into, once it gets going in that direction and it can get over one of those berms, it could inundate that area quite quickly. But right now I'd say they're doing the best they can. At the same time, they are making plans to bring on a second power plant for this region that will be located out here around the airport in an area where we don't expect an eruption. So they are, not putting all their eggs in this basket. The Blue Lagoon is just a tourist attraction. If it goes, it goes. But the real infrastructure that's trying to be protected here is the Blue Lagoon. So yeah, so the berms can't be built to an infinite height. There is some like realism there, but they're trying to just stay ahead of the next eruption, I think, is the best case right now. Okay, and from and then I answered the question about from Jelmer Sign. So great. I think I got all the questions that were sent to me. Let me scroll back real quick. I'll just grab these out of the live chat because we're going to probably finish up here in a minute, Amanda Joe, so don't worry about compiling a third sheet. From Cindy Carp, are you ready for Kilauea Stage 5 or Episode 5? Yes, I am, very much so. And so I have been keeping track of Kilauea. In fact, I knew we were most likely to have a question about it. So here is our live webcam from Kilauea. That is not a good view, kind of blurry, but if we go back a little bit, hoping somewhere in here it's a little better. But that's looking at the vent area, so there's still glow coming out of the vent. The eruption is over, but that vent is open, and the lava is just sitting down there, not coming out of the vent, but it's close to the surface, close enough that we can see the glow. So there is likely to be another eruption soon. In fact, the Met Office update, sorry, Met Office, the USGS update, sorry, wrong country, from yesterday, one thing I found interesting from yesterday's eruption for Kilauea is down here in the analyses. I won't bore you with all the reading here, but basically playing the games with the tilt meters and what they've seen over the past 4 phases of this eruption. If this relatively high rate of inflationary tilt continues and magma remains high in the vent, as strongly indicated by glow at night, it suggests that there's a high probability that the 5th fountaining episode could begin sometime between Tuesday, January 21st, which is today, and Friday, January 24th. If the rate of inflation slows, the probable window of time for resumption of activity would be longer. So not a prediction. Okay, pump the brakes. Did the USGS just make a prediction? No. They made a statement. You could treat it as a forecast, I would say, that if X, Y, and Z line up, that the next episode could begin, not will begin, sometime between today and this coming Friday. So we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. That would be interesting. All right, last couple questions here from Stephen Christian. Is there any sort of projection over millions of years how much Iceland may grow? When does an island become a continent? Yeah, good question, and I suppose it goes back to somewhat semantics. I've always wondered that myself. Greenland is very big. It is not considered a continent. Australia, which is bigger than Greenland, don't get me wrong, is a continent. Antarctica, which is bigger than Greenland, is a continent. So how big do you need to be and how isolated from another continent do you need to be considered a continent? I think Iceland has a very, very long way to go and probably will never make it far enough to be considered a continent. But how much could it grow? Well, you'd have to balance out the constructive and the destructive processes that happen there. So sure, eruptions in Iceland add land, right? Just like in Hawaii, it adds real estate to the island, especially if you get something along the coastline. Also, weathering, right? So weathering and erosion. So as rocks up here in the glaciers and the streams, as all that sediment's carried down to the coastline, it adds land to the coastline. It adds more real estate. Iceland's coastline has grown as a result of weathering and eroding the rocks and the volcanoes on its land surface. So all of those contribute to making Iceland bigger. But there's also things that are working against Iceland. So you have the waves that come crashing in that erode it. You might have landslides and other processes that are kind of breaking the land free and putting it in the ocean. So, you know, will it even get bigger? Who's to say it's actually going to grow? Maybe it actually shrinks a little bit. A lot of this also depends on sea level. If sea level goes up, it shrinks. If sea level drops, it gets larger. Right now with climate change and rising sea levels, that's conspiring against Iceland. It's shrinking it to some degree. Yeah, so fun stuff to think about. And let's see, last couple questions out of the chat. Yeah, any news from Africa? I haven't seen anything on Ethiopia. As you probably well know, it's very hard to get the data any data or scientific information out of there. So I haven't seen much Ethiopia in the news, although to be fair, I haven't like dug hard either for it over the last week or so. And I think I got it. Did I get them all? Yeah, I think I got all the questions, hopefully. Oh, last one, slipstreaming. Okay, last question. What if the ocean recedes, making it much bigger? Does the ocean level make a difference? Yeah, kind of addressed that a little bit. So fun stuff. And you guys do a great job of just kind of chiming in there as well and answering each other's questions. So fun stuff. So hopefully everyone enjoyed our live stream today. I want to thank our moderators, Lisa, Mandy Jo, and Susan, for giving us some of their time and energy and knowledge. Very helpful. I want to thank NatureEye and Johan for their work in the live stream, for making it possible. He reached out to me and said, hey, Tuesday looks like a good day. And I said, let's do it. But also, if you can book a flight with them, that would be helpful. Johan needs to stay busy, and we always want to see our partners at NatureEye continue to do well as a business and flourish, because it's a great model. It's a really cool business idea, and they do a lot with schools, but they also depend on just individuals like you and I to book flights and fly over places. If you've kind of, maybe you've already done it in Iceland, you should check out their other locations in Africa and South America, North America. There's other places you can fly around and take pictures and have that experience. So want to especially thank them for making this possible. And I want to thank all you viewers. Thank you for giving me your time today and sharing with us. If you're interested in the field trips, make sure to go to the website. Also, we have the merchandise available there. Things coming up. What does the next few weeks look like? I'll be leaving for the Big Island next Wednesday, but I will get out a couple videos while I'm gone. I have there's one more random road cut in the hopper. There is a fun recycled video on Old Faithful that I'm putting out, and some other ones. I do plan on getting out another, maybe 1 or 2 Geology 101 videos prepared in the next week or two. I've got some fun ideas for some new interviews. I just met a new geologist at Boise State that has agreed to do an interview with me. He's a geophysicist, and he looks at how low frequency sound waves, which is what we call infrasound, can be used to help forecast volcanic eruptions. Really fascinating work he's doing in Guatemala and Chile and some other places as well. So yeah, so just look for some more things like that. Thank you for your support of the channel. It means the world to us, and we appreciate it. It helps keeps us going. And I guess that's it. So we will see you next time. Make sure you hit like and continue to be well. Stay warm if you're in one of those cold places right now. And take care. We'll see you soon, team. Adios.